I am going to discuss a method of differentiation that can be used in almost any classroom. I happen to use it in a technology classroom, but I've also used it in language arts, reading, and science classrooms. This concept is based upon the growth model. It allows for the students to make a lot of choices, but requires teachers to release a little bit of their control. When I was in school, we always sat in classrooms that had rows or tables, and we were exposed to the sit and get method of teaching and the regurgitation method of testing. Not usually that exciting. I was always daydreaming and could never stay focused on what the teacher was presenting, but I always did fine on the tests. Not a terribly challenging education. These days, kids have access to a lot more information quickly. They are curious and interested in the world. We, as teachers, need to key into those interests and figure out activities that they will be interested in and release some of the control from our classrooms to allow the kids to make choices in what and how they're learning. A great way to improve student interest in learning is by allowing the student to make decisions about what they are doing in class. Depending on the circumstances and the students, they can be given plenty of latitude. Maybe they choose a topic for a project, or they just choose the product. In some cases, they could be allowed to choose both topic and product. One possibility within this model is to ask all the students to create the same kind of product, like a PowerPoint, but let them choose the topic. Students will be able to explore a topic they enjoy and either learn a new presentation tool or improve their existing skill while learning about their topic. Either way, the student leaves the project with skills and knowledge they did not have before. Another variation on this model would be to provide the students with a topic, but allow them to select what project they will create to share their learning. As an example, students would be asked to create an anti-bullying message. They could create a PowerPoint or a mock-up TV commercial, maybe a podcast or an animation, or maybe a quick comic strip. They're only limited by their skill set or their desire to learn a new skill. The ideal within this model would be for the student to reach a point where they could choose both the topic and the task to create something meaningful for them. In these projects, teachers, parents, and students would collaborate to create a plan and then set the outcomes of the project. The student would then take the lead and provide the evidence of their progress in learning to both the parents and the teacher. Obviously, there are going to be some areas where the student's going to have to improve their skills. The teacher provides some benchmarks so the student can see these benchmarks and compare their own skills. Then they can see where they need to grow and where they're already doing quite well. The student can then choose what goals they want to work on and create a plan in order to improve their skills. Everybody likes to work on things that they're good at. Allowing a student to pursue an activity that builds skill in an area that they're already good at is a great way to build that student's confidence and encourage them to try new things. No matter how good they are, they should always be setting a goal that will challenge them and allow them to show growth in that area. Students seem to always know the things that they don't think that they're good at. Showing them that growth occurs even at the things that they're really good at makes it easier to highlight that they can grow everywhere. If teachers guide the students in their goal setting and efforts in areas where they need to build skills, the students can easily track their own growth and see how they are improving. Students will be pleased to see that they do grow at the things that they're already good at, but not as much as they grow at the things that they have not yet mastered. Allowing students to evaluate their own success based upon their improvement and accomplishing goals that they have set for themselves gives that student ownership of their own education, and it encourages them to develop new skills. As a teacher, this model is exciting, but it can be intimidating. When in full swing, a classroom full of kids could have 30 kids doing 30 different projects all going at the same time. It sounds overwhelming to have so much going on in one classroom, but as you build your skills in this area, you find that the focus shifts from the teacher to the student. When you first start with this model, it's a good idea to start with a list of choices for the students that only includes things that you are already familiar with and are reasonably good at. This enables you to focus on the students and not on figuring out how to make complex processes work. As you build confidence in managing the learning environment and building resources for the kids, it becomes easier. Over time, you will discover new and exciting tools that you want your students to have access to. Adding these new tools one at a time and allowing yourself to see how the kids interact with them will make things easier than adding several at once. It also makes it easier to find resources or develop your own resources for the students to promote their independent work. Throughout this process, the kids are going to be asking you if there is a tool that you'll add because they happen to like it. Initially, you have to keep that in check and collect the titles, but set them aside so that you can look at them and evaluate them for later. Eventually, you may be able to add them at the drop of a hat, but initially, you need to give yourself time to look things over. It does sound pretty exciting, doesn't it? In this process, you're giving over control of the students' learning to the students themselves. You're providing tools and resources, but they are determining where they need to grow and what tools they need to reach their goals. There's a lot of groundwork, and you have to be willing to let go of the control, but in the long run, it makes for a very rich learning environment. All of this comes down to one simple factor: the student. This method meets the student, any student, at the level they join your class, and provides them with the means to build their skills. Whether they reach the benchmarks or not, they can see that they are improving, and that really motivates them. People need to be lifelong learners. Students who understand the growth model are lifelong learners. With so much focus on high-stakes testing and student achievement, it is important that students have a set of tools that is not dependent on teachers or mentors to acquire new skills. Providing a learner with the capacity to look at a skill bank, break it down into achievable parts, and make their own goals to conquer the task is going to help them and be critical for their learning in the future. To get things started, all you need to do is get your kids thinking about what they want to accomplish and what they want to learn, and making those things their goals. It shouldn't be about grades, it should be about learning and knowing where you are. Once the students start to see how this all fits together and they have control over these things for themselves, they will have no problem achieving success after success. Success is a journey, not a destination. The pathway is paved with goals and growth, not with failure. To quote Thomas Edison, when asked how he felt after failing 1,000 times in his effort to make a decent incandescent light bulb, he said, "I have not failed 1,000 times. I have proven 1,000 ways that won't work."